Hello and welcome. I'm Diane Webster, and today's story is about having a free lunch. It's based on actual events, but names have been changed. Listen to the very end to this quirky and salient tale. Beware the free lunch. It starts in Italy, August 1972. The train was clattering along through beautiful green countryside. Anne and I are sitting opposite each other in the seating carriage when a man in his mid-50s sat down next to me. He introduced himself as Max and started up a conversation. "You girls hungry? I'm on my way to the dining car just now, and if you'll join me, I'll buy you lunch." Anne and I were students visiting from Australia, travelling through Europe on a Ural pass. We were always hungry and never had any money for a decent meal. So of course we followed him to the dining car and sat up at the table, decked out with white tablecloth and fine silver. I was sitting next to Max and Anne was opposite me. Before the waitress had even brought the menus, Max was already touching my thigh under the table. It made me feel very uncomfortable, but I am a trusting soul, so I didn't immediately flinch. It didn't take much longer for him, however, to progress to deliberately caressing my thigh, and then I knew I had to move to the other seat to get as far from Max as I could without actually standing up. I was really looking forward to a good meal, but I could see my chances of getting that receding quickly now. Max edged his way a little closer to me and put his hand more firmly on my thigh. That's when I definitely knew what the price was for the free lunch, and I stood up and said, "I'm not hungry now. I'm going back to our carriage, Anne. You have lunch if you want to. I'll see you back where we were sitting." I left. Anne returned about 10 minutes later. "Did he start to hit on you too?" I asked her. "Yeah, I had to get away. Lunch just wasn't worth it." Fast forward to Puckle Street, Moonee Ponds, 2002. The cafe is quite busy and noisy at lunchtime. Len and I are being taken out to lunch by the Castro rep. Jerry was the representative for the company that sold a brand of eye drops for treating glaucoma. We didn't sell the eye drops directly to the public in our practice, of course, but we wrote the prescriptions for them. Throughout the lunch, Jerry is chatting to us about all the advantages of his company's eye drops compared to the opposition company's brand. "Remember to always write the brand name on the script and tick the box so the chemist can't substitute a cheaper generic brand," Jerry told us. "The generics just don't work. All the studies have been done on the branded drug, so you can't trust the generics." Well, I knew that the studies hadn't been done on the generics because there was no money for the company in doing that. I had become more cynical about the free lunch over the years. I knew exactly why we'd been invited by Jerry, and yet I accepted his invitation and enjoyed the lunch. I knew that the free lunch came with the expectation that we would write prescriptions with his company's brand name so it would increase his sales figures. Back in time now to Brisbane, 1996. Tim and I had been invited to dinner along with 6 other doctors and their partners by a local art dealer. The dinner was all expenses paid. We were in a private dining room booked in an expensive restaurant in the city. Rod, the art dealer, had told us there was no expectation for us to buy any of the art displayed magnificently around the room. Rod spent most of the dinner doing the talking, describing each painting and the artist, why each one was such a good investment, and why they would all increase in value exponentially over the years. Each of the doctors there was putting a coloured adhesive spot on the painting of their choice. Before the evening was out, my husband Tim had put a red sticky spot on a painting that we later paid $12,000 for. That painting followed me with my every move over the following years. Firstly to my Mackay practice in North Queensland, then to Strathmore in Melbourne, followed by Williamstown, Brighton, Hampton, and then back to Brighton again. It was a very large work of art and heavy for removalists. I eventually sold it through an auction house in Melbourne in 2020 for $3,500. So I calculated the free dinner in 1996 cost me at least $8,500, and that doesn't include all the moving and insurance costs. Now to the Gold Coast, Queensland, 1993. They're offering us a tour of the new holiday timeshare apartments for sale just up the road, my father announced. And a free lunch is included, just for going to look at the apartments. No strings attached, apparently. My mother and father were on a holiday for a week, staying with Tim and I and our 2 young sons. We decided to go and see the apartments and enjoy the lunch. Little did we know that at the end of the tour, the sales pitch was so effective that my parents ended up buying a timeshare for $50,000. They kept that timeshare until it was sold after my father passed away, 28 years later. Every year, my parents paid the management fees required, which were approximately $1,200. I can remember staying in the timeshare for only 1 week's holiday during that whole period, and the number of times my parents used it could be counted on the fingers of one hand. So that free lunch ended up costing my parents $50,000 plus 28 times 1,200, coming to a total of $83,600. Now let's go back to Bavaria, August 1972. Are there truly any free lunches out there? I experienced one on that same student trip to Europe in 1972. It was a beautiful summer day in Munich, and Anne and I were strolling along a suburban street intent on getting to the surrounding hills for a walk. We were strolling past a pretty little cottage where a group of friends were sitting outside in their garden, beers in hand, and eating a hearty lunch. One of them called to us in German, "Come and join us for lunch and a beer." Even though we spoke no German, we could understand the invitation from their bright, cheerful, smiling faces and hand signals. I think it was someone's birthday. We decided to join them and spent the next hour and a half savouring German beer and delicious food. There was a lot of laughter and even singing. They didn't seem to care that we didn't speak their language. They were so happy to host us. No one made a pass at us or even laid a hand on us. When lunch was finished, we simply told them thank you and went on our way towards the walking track in the surrounding hills. They wished us good walking and a lovely day. You see, there are some good people out there who have no ulterior motive for giving you a free lunch. It's just they are very hard to find. That's the end of the story. A collection of my short stories called 4 Ways to Die at Riverside Towers is available on Amazon as a paperback and Kindle as an ebook. Or listen to my other stories anytime on my YouTube channel at Dr. Diane Leslie Webster. Subscribe and you'll get notice of more stories. It's free. I hope you have a great day today, doing something that you enjoy with someone that you love.